What's great, everyone? This video here was supposed to be a very short video, really just showcasing how things I've learned in a different chapter of my life, teaching animal flow workshops and practicing movement patterns thousands of times, how that overlaps with something I do nowadays, BJJ, and how that naturally shows up in my time on the mat. We just had a flow roll session the other week. When I watched the video afterwards of me flow rolling with Glenn, who was with me on the mat, it was fascinating for me to see how these movement patterns I've practiced so many times, how they show up in my time on the mat. Now that was the original idea for this video. Let me actually tell you where I came from. In my journey as a movement specialist, as somebody who was an educator in the fitness industry, who is nowadays working in the space of personal development, one key element has always been part of my life. Physical movement, exploration, pushing my own physical limits, exploring my comfort zone. By doing so, that gave me a huge amount of satisfaction by conquering certain movements, by conquering and acquiring certain skills, skateboarding, playing golf, handstands, BJJ. All of those are really complex things, and I just love immersing myself into these worlds. And that is not just a recent thing. That has been part of my life ever since I can think of. And at some point, being at the right time, in the right place, running into the right people, bringing some talent, but also being super hungry, I actually got to be a pro skateboarder for about a decade. That was a blast of a time. Touring the globe, competing internationally, and really just living the dream. And later on, after that time as a pro skateboarder, I became an international educator in the fitness industry, teaching weekend workshops, certifications for several big brands and names in the fitness industry. And for the longest bit of this chapter of my life, I got to teach workshops and certifications, seminars for animal flow internationally, mainly all across Europe, but also beyond. And when I found animal flow, it really was something that resonated with me on a whole different level. The things that I felt right away were that it challenged me in regards to figuring out and remembering these movement sequences. So there's a physical and mental aspect at the same time that fascinated me. It kept me fit, it kept me resilient and injury-free at the same time. How cool is that? I had the feeling there's a direct transfer from what you do on the ground on all four limbs to any other sport that you do perform. Think about it. Spending time on the ground on all four limbs, touching, releasing, your nervous system learns about all the different distances, proprioception from joint to joint in space in relation to the ground. How can that not be handy in any other sport that you do? And at this part in my life, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has become a big part of my journey. I remember very vividly in 2016 when I took my first BJJ class in Amsterdam. And even though this was my very first BJJ class, I fell in love with this because some of the movements that we were shown by the instructor, I think his name was Marcos Flexa in Amsterdam, some of these movements were feeling like second nature to me. Everything that we do in life is based on patterns. Patterns that we have practiced, patterns that we are aware of, or that we operate on unknowingly, but it's all based on patterns. So apparently what I experienced in BJJ, those were some movement patterns which my body has done so many times over thousands of repetitions, and something felt very familiar being on these mats for the first time. I didn't have to think about any of these ground-based movements like a technical get-up. It felt supernatural to me, and I instantly knew I want more of this. Alright, now to the actual point of this video. How movement patterns transfer from one discipline to another. We were rolling at the gym and we were instructed to roll for 4 minutes at a time with one partner, and more specifically we were instructed to flow roll. Something that you don't get to do a lot in gyms. That's at least my observation, my experience, and every time that I did it, specifically with higher belts, it has been such a cool experience because you really stay in the flow of things. It's all about seeing movement windows to go through, or in other words, transitioning from one position to another without locking something in with too much force, because Using too much force will eventually make you lose the feeling for it. Good for submitting someone, for applying pressure, but in flow rolling you want to be going from one position to another position with ease, with lightness to it, just looking at the positions, feeling them, seeing the opportunities for submissions but not locking in. So we did 4 minutes at a time with one partner, and I was on the mat with Glenn like I said earlier, and it was such a cool experience. In my opinion, this is one of the biggest opportunities missed out on in most gyms. Point being, what you're missing out on if you don't do this, your awareness for possible movements drastically increases when you do this kind of practice, flow rolling. Your awareness to see escapes, to see attacks, to see transitions from one position to another, to have this possible sequence of follow-up movements in your head without actively thinking about it too much. This all are points which drastically increase from a practice such as flow rolling. Another huge highlight for myself in flow rolling that I see is you are developing reflexes that determine winning or losing. And really what this means, movement training, it just gives you a different quality about the way you move. It develops your reflexes, you will become more resilient, it will keep you longer injury-free. That just adds another layer to your game. And movement training, if you don't do this, you're missing out on a great opportunity to step up in your BJJ game. Alright, now let's do a recap and your possible next steps with this content, this information. In general, you can say about life, sports, martial arts, anything really that you do. How we do one thing is how we do many things in life. So if you feel clunky, chunky, stiff in your bodyweight training, that is probably also how you show up on the mats. Here's the sad reality about this. I've seen this so many times. The more stiff you are, the sooner the chance is that there's something going to stretch, there's something going to snap, that there's something going to break. Here's the thing, movement training, like I showed you guys, will bring a ton of physical attributes, leveling up, and through this added movement variability, these movements that you expose yourself to, those movements that are new to your system, these movements will show up in one or another way on the mats. The magic here really comes from embracing sucking at something. Well, you are in BJJ, in grappling, in martial arts anyways, you know exactly what I'm speaking about. There's a huge time frame in the beginning where you just go through a suck. Embrace that journey when you expose yourself to movement training, because it's going to be the same way, but the benefits are huge. And whatever movement training you pick, you choose for yourself, because there's a wide offer out there. Just dedicate some time, some minutes before each time you go on the mats, some minutes, make it a fixed few trainings per week that you expose yourself, and you will see there's a direct transfer from how you do one thing to how you do the other thing. To make it a little bit easier for you, here's a few choices for you to pick your movement training. Now obviously I have a ton of experience with animal flow and I love it because it offers a wide range of possibilities for everyone to get into it. From someone who's really advanced in terms of movement training, calisthenics, to someone who's really just beginning. On YouTube, free tutorials, or check out their Animal Flow On Demand channel. And by the way, I co-authored the book Max, which is really a dedicated book from Animal Flow for martial arts. Check that out. I'll put the link for that directly below this video in the description. And of course, there's a bunch of other trainings like MoveNat, like Ido Portal, like Zoo, name it. There's a ton of these programs out there. It comes down to the fact, go out and do it. Embrace the suck, embrace the journey, and get better at what you do, BJJ. Here are the two most important takeaways from this video. Number one, pick your movement training. If you're not making it part of your routine, you're missing out on a huge opportunity. Pick it. Don't get overwhelmed by the offer out there. I gave you a few options to choose from. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments. I'm happy to answer those, but just go ahead and do it. You're missing out if you're not already doing that. Number two, find a gym, find a partner, find a drilling partner that you can do flow rolling with. Trust me, these two ingredients, movement training and flow rolling, these two ingredients are a magic recipe to level up your game on the mats. Hey, and if you feel like you want to establish a movement training at your academy, your gym, let me know. I'm your guy. I have a ton of experience. I'm happy to offer you my services, my programs that I've got pre-designed for you, ready and up for grabs. I hope this content that you got to see here helps you on your BJJ or grappling journey. And from my many years of experience in the movement world as a fitness professional, this is just my way of passing on. So if you like this content, let me know, drop me a comment, leave me a thumbs up, even subscribe to this channel. Let me know that you want more of this. I'm happy to produce more of this. I got so much more to share. That's it for this time. Stay safe, keep rolling, stay injury free. See you soon.